guys, so tonight we're starting with pumpkin zucchini bread, and we're fortunate to have Tim at the camera. I had it on the tripod and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Taping." He goes, "Don't you want me to do that for you?" So there we go. Pumpkin zucchini bread. I'm so excited because it always comes out better when he does this. The first thing you do is our recipe is, and I was going to just cut it down to one because I only wanted one loaf, but I want you to know the recipe, the size it is, and the normal way it goes. So you start out with 2 loaf pans and you just spray them with baker stuff. You want, get in those corners because those corners matter. So both of them get sprayed with some baker spray, and it's fun because I love using this kind as well. This is my favorite pan, but I only have one. If I had 2 of these, I wouldn't own the metal ones anymore. Okay, there you go. You line them, then I have to line them with, hold on, parchment paper, which I've already, because it's such a long roll, I already pulled a bunch out and I cut it in half. So it's going to set like that right inside there. You can see how I've set it inside there. I'm going to put these pans aside for now. So they're all set, ready to roll. I'm going to get them out of my way because I'm going to make the bread now. So I've already started out in here just to get going because I thought I was taping by myself. I've got 1 cup of white sugar, regular granulated sugar, and 1 cup of packed brown sugar. To that, I'm going to add 2/3 cup of oil. In this case, I believe it was corn oil I've got going right now, so it's corn oil today, but it can be any oil. It can be EVOEO. It's just a very expensive. I tend to keep my, to be honest with you, I tend to keep my EVOEO, my extra virgin olive oil for cooking and stir fry and stuff like that because it's so expensive. I tend to wait and use it there. And I usually use like my canola oil or corn oil or whatever, vegetable oil that I bought. I usually put that in my baking. Then 4 large eggs. Our eggs today are compliments of Kinsley Corliss. Shout out to little Kinsley. Thank you for the eggs. But the big one is from her grandmother. This is a duck egg. And it's not a chicken egg. And this one came from Shyla Boomhauer, which happens to be Kinsley's grandmother. So we're getting eggs from 2 different places. So I had 1 duck egg and I had 3 regular eggs. And it says to have 4 large eggs. And I purposely picked this really tiny one to go hand in hand with that one. And the other 2 are just regular size. So in the end, I kind of got it. Oops, remember on the table we got egg in our, well, we did yesterday. We got egg in our stuff and I had to get the egg out. Obviously, you didn't watch my video yesterday if you didn't see that I got some egg shell in my baking yesterday, and I had to get it out. So 1, 2. Oh, whoopsie. Let's see what happens. Yesterday it came right in there. 3. So, I don't know. I've always gone like this myself. So, but they say, I was watching Rachel Ray, and she said, always knock it on the table, not on the side of the bowl.
Well, she knows.
Well, she's pretty good. So then it's, and this is a large mixing bowl because we've got more ingredients to go. Blend it up till it's really well blended. I chose to use the hand beater for a couple of reasons. Number 1, I needed a really large mixing bowl because this is a single batch, but it's one of those batches that makes a lot at once. And my bowl on my KitchenAid isn't that large. So, and the other thing is, as soon as we're done this, huh? What?
It's as big as that.
Well, anyways, as soon as we're done this, we're going to go right over and make the frosting. So I needed more than 1 mixer. So mixing it up, as you can see, all the pieces you want them to be, especially that sugar, that packed sugar, and get those pieces broken up. Look at how nice the color has changed. That the yolks have really, and that big yolk in that duck egg really has brought some nice orange color to this. So I'm just going to hit it one more time. And then from there, I'm going to add my dry ingredients. It doesn't say that we have to put them in a different pan. I mean, if I was doing this professionally, I would probably do what we talked about yesterday, which was put them all the dry ingredients together, sift them together, you know, but this is just for our own consumption here at home, so I'm not overthinking it. And it doesn't say to do that either. It just says to add flour, add baking soda. So here's 2 1/2 cups of flour right here, just regular flour. I have 1 teaspoon. This is one of those recipes again where it's baking soda and baking powder. And when it's baking soda and baking powder, there's always less of baking soda and usually half of what baking powder has. So the baking soda is 1 teaspoon. I always check because I have so many going. Just before I do it, I always look, oh, yep, I got the 1 teaspoon in my hand. Could be age too, I suppose. So 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And here we go. 1, 2. So 2 teaspoons of baking powder. We're going to stop for a second, pull that aside. We need the tablespoon, and we need 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. My recipe just fell over. 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. Which makes sense because there's 2 loaves here, so yep. Basically what you're doing, to be honest with you, wait till you finish hearing what these ingredients are. You're basically doing the same as a pumpkin pie is really what you're doing because it's pumpkin zucchini. So you're basically making homemade pumpkin pie spice, which is 4 different ingredients. So the next thing is 1/2 teaspoon of cloves. So here we go, 1/2 teaspoon of cloves right there. And these are all the ingredients in pumpkin pie spice, so this works out well. So there's your 1/2, and I did look to make sure I said 1/2. And then, where was I? Cloves, right? Yep. Then I go back to 1 teaspoon, which is right here, of ginger. Oh, that does not want to go in there. It's too big. All right, we'll do it this way. There we go. There's your 1 teaspoon of ground ginger. And then just to add that little extra, I've got 3/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. And we all know that there is no such thing as a 3/4 measuring. So, yep, every now and then there's math. So, the math in this is using the 1/2. Because it's 3/4 of a teaspoon, so the 1/2 and the 1/4. So kids, remember, you make sure to pay attention in math because even with cooking it matters because there's not always going to be, like when I was doing a frosting, I'll show you how I had to do math for that as well. So you'll see math is important. It's kind of boring when you're doing it probably, but it's important. Okay, then we're going to...
When do you put the pasta in?
That's dinner, dear. That's the next video we're going to make. And because you're a Weisenheimer, now you're going to have to make it with me because you outed me. Nice job, though. Just going to mix these guys. Oh, and the one other thing that goes with this while we're mixing, by the way, hello, is pumpkin. So, I don't know if you remember when we did this back in, God, we were doing this in...
Pumpkin and zucchini.
Wait, I'm not ready for that yet. No, because the beater hurts the zucchini. Stop talking. So, tell him to stop, everybody. Stop talking. You're screwing this up. And I can't go back and get these ingredients and make 4 loaves now, so we got to keep going. So remember when we were all freezing and cutting, and we had cut up the pumpkin and we steamed it and we put it in bags, and here's the perfect example. 2 cups. I put them in the freezer in Ziploc bags, and knowing I've got recipes that take 2 cups of this, and the same with the zucchini when you'll see it in a minute. So I grabbed one of my 2-cup containers and I defrosted it all so it's all set. By the way, I go like this, I lay them down and I stack them like little books so it doesn't take much room in the freezer. And I'm just going to put this in here. So there's my 2 cups, because you can use either 1 can of pure pumpkin or 2 cups of the cooked pumpkin. None of us here wants to use canned pumpkin, right, everybody? No, 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 no. We went to our gardens and we pulled out our pumpkins that were going and we cooked them down and we put them in the freezer. I'm proud of ourselves. So this didn't cost us anything, even though a can of pumpkin pie doesn't cost very much. But it's really no crime, I suppose, to make it with the can of pumpkin. So it is 1 can or 2 cups of cooked pumpkin. When I say 1 can, I don't mean that really huge. I think it's like 16 ounce or some crazy size. It's really big. There's a big can like this of pumpkin, and then there's a smaller can that's half that size. You want that half that size. It doesn't mean that big, giant, humongous can. Okay, which I don't have the size on me at the moment, but I could go to the closet and see if I've got one to tell you. Oh, I'll put it on the recipe. Okay, so we're gonna, I'll put it on the recipe video when I put the ingredients down there so you'll know what size. I'm thinking we all know not to use the huge one, but I'll make sure I put it there. See how beautiful this is? It's starting to, whoops, bring itself around. It's really a good bread. I wish there was like smell-o-vision on this when you could smell it while you were watching the video, because it smells just like I'm making a pumpkin pie. It is really fantastic. And look at all those. Can you get down in there and see all those spices? The allspice, not allspice, but the cloves and the cinnamon and the ginger and the nutmeg. See them all in there? It's just like a pie. It's fantastic. So I'm just going to kind of scrape off the edges like I always do. I'm going to hit it just a little longer, but we don't want to overbeat this. We just want to beat it enough to make it blended. So there we go. All right. There we go. That's it. It's also taken the time. So a couple of comments before I go on to the frosting. See how you can see in here the pumpkin? Like, I'm going to use my finger just a minute to show you. See that pumpkin right there? My sister Shyla says that she does not like to make pumpkin pie out of fresh pumpkin. And she said, oh, every time it's stringy and it's watery. And after talking to her, I said, you're using the wrong pumpkin. You are not using a pie pumpkin if it's stringy and it's watery. It could be clumpy like that, which the beater has taken care of. As you can see, it's just a little piece or two like that. But that's going to cook down. You won't even know there was ever a clump in it. If you've got a pumpkin and you've cooked it down thinking it's a pie pumpkin and it's stringy and it's watery, you got the wrong kind of pumpkin. You've got a Halloween pumpkin or a decorative pumpkin. You need to, when you're purchasing, when you're going to your farm stand, say, may I please have pie pumpkins? Be specific, pie pumpkins. And you'll find that a little bit different about the pie pumpkins too when you touch them. When you go to the farm stand or the grocery store, Hannaford's, wherever, when you touch a pie pumpkin, first of all, the color of the skin is darker. It's a little bit darker, it always is. And you can put your thumb in it easily. Like you can pierce with your fingernail, thumbnail into it. If you're doing a pumpkin that's supposed to be for decoration or for cutting up or whatever, you cannot put your thumbnail in there very easily. So, you know, again, that's a quick little thing saying, you know, is that okay? Do I really have a pie pumpkin? Because nobody's helping you. So go to the farm stand, or maybe they're very good at saying they have some sort of sign that says this is the pie pumpkins and these are the ones that you're supposed to cut up. But if it's not obvious, go to them and ask them. Definitely in the grocery store they have them split up. So that's that. What I'm going to do with this batter now is pour them into those 2 loaf pans that we had prepared with the parchment paper and the spray. I'm going to put them in this 350 oven that has already been heated, and I'm going to cook it for 60 to 70 minutes. And or if a toothpick comes out clean. If you put a toothpick down the middle and it's still coming out wet with any batter on it, slap it back in, put it in for another 5 or 10 minutes. It's not like a cake. It's not going to fall if you pull it out to check it. It's not going to fall. Cakes, we get nervous about doing that, and I understand because cakes can fall. So from there, and so normally I wouldn't be touching the frosting right now at all. I would wait until, oh yes, thank you. Tim, thank you. Tim's pointed. I've forgotten an ingredient. The zucchini, he's right. And I'm pulling out of this because you don't want to beat zucchini because the, thank you Tim very much, because the beater will hurt the zucchini. So you want to just fold that zucchini in. So that's what I'm going to do with this is folded in. Thank you very much for reminding me that it's not just zucchini. It's not just pumpkin bread, it's pumpkin zucchini. So I'm going to finish stirring that around. It's not going to be hit with the beater at all. And then you'll just start seeing that green coming through as you can now, see? So there you go. And that was supposed to be 2 cups of shredded zucchini. And as you can see in my bag, I prepped it being 2 cups. I put it in the freezer saying 2 cups. I know what my recipes are. There are some things like pies that take, like rhubarb, for instance. I've got rhubarb in my freezer in 2 cups and 3 cups and 5 cups. 5 cups I know is the crisp, if you're making crisp. 2 cups is always the bread, and 3 cups, I can't remember what's the different, but I do have it in different kinds when I put it in the freezer. So I could just take that bag. I don't have to waste any by defrosting a whole thing, taking only a part of it out and using it. So I know what my recipes are, and I have them in there in those different amounts. Thank you, Tim, for remembering that it is a pumpkin zucchini bread. And there you go. You can see the zucchini in it. Again, now we're going to evenly distribute it between those 2 pans. Put it in here. No, we're not putting the pasta in there, smart guy. He's pointing at the pasta, everybody. He's really trying to do anything he can to make me screw up here on this video. And he's actually doing a very good job because I forgot to put that zucchini in right away. So, and that's after I told him, hey, calm down. We're not ready to use it yet. So, yeah, nice guy. So we're going to come over here now, and I'm going to take my recipe, but I know what it is. But just in case I forget something for a second, because he is being Weisenheimer. I normally would not start this at all. I would wait until the bread comes out of the oven, remove it from the oven, leave it in the pan for 5 minutes, just let it settle, let it rest for 5 minutes. Then you're going to invert your pans and get your bread out of there, and then put your bread right side up again and let them cool on a cooling rack for however long it takes. Who knows? It could take an hour. It could take, we have a wood stove in our house, so sometimes it takes a lot longer for things to kind of cool down because we keep our house warm with the wood stove, which is right so close to the kitchen that it does hamper sometimes. So I would not have been starting this for a couple of hours. I would totally have waited till the bread was, I probably would have waited and not done this frosting until after dinner, to be honest with you. So, but we're going to do it now so you can know what it is. And this is where some more math comes in again, because I have different size. Like I had an 8-ounce container that I was just finishing off. It's here somewhere, or I probably already put it in the recycling. Here it is. I was finishing off whatever was left in my yeah, it was a 16-ounce one actually. And this is what I'd been using for bagels and cream cheese. So it was just sitting in there. But it wasn't, I have to know we need 4 ounces of cream cheese softened, and that is softened cream cheese. And I also keep these on hand. Well, this is an 8-ounce. I could have made it out of just this container and it would have been plenty. But I wanted to finish off the older first. So I went in there. I had to know that 4 ounces equals a half cup because 8 ounces equals a cup. So these are the kind of things, if you ever want some of those cheat sheets, I can put on Facebook for you the cheat sheets of ounces and thises and that's that help you and let you know that, a tablespoon equals this, ounces equal this. But I do happen to know that 4 ounces equals a half cup. So I broke into this one as well. You can see some and the rest out of that one. So again, math is important, my friends, knowing equivalence in math. So I start out with the cream cheese, and there's no science to that's not true. There is science to this, but there's a variance. Whenever you're working with anything of a frosting that has milk and cream and powdered sugar, you don't know exactly how much you're going to use for milk yet, because I don't know why actually, you just don't. I was going to say something, but I don't even know why you don't know exactly. Your recipe in this one, for instance, says 2 to 4 tablespoons. The frosting I used the other day, said 2 to 4 tablespoons. It took all 4 and a little bit more. And one day I could do it, and it would take only 3 out of that 4. So when they're giving you a variance of milk, and when it's done, you can add more or less milk for a desired consistency, meaning how do you want it to spread? Do you want it to be thick and spread? Do you want it to be thin, really thin? Some people like really thin frosting. I do not. I like it thick and lusty. So I would tend to be less on the milk and more on the powdered sugar. So, you know, it's going to tell you that we need 2 cups of powdered sugar and 2 to 4 cups of milk. Who knows, right? We know I always, the thing I start with is I always go with the exact amount of powdered sugar, and it's the milk that I play with. If it says 5 cups of powdered sugar, I go with that 5 cups, and that's it. And then I make it the consistency change with my milk and the tablespoons here and there. We definitely, so we got our 4 ounces of cream cheese in here. We definitely need 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, because we're going to stay on that same theme of pumpkin. That's the picking out the pumpkin again, like a pumpkin pie. So usually when you're doing something like this, it's vanilla. Vanilla is like, any kind of extract is like a main staple in every one of your frostings. Doesn't matter if you start with cream cheese, and if you start with whatever, for any extract, vanilla extract, orange extract, lemon extract, depending on what you're doing, that's a staple. But in this one, it's cinnamon, because we're going with that same pumpkin theme. And all you're doing is taking your 2 cups of powdered sugar, which is over there in the corner. I guess I should have moved it first so it didn't sound like it was such a job. And I've already got it all over the counter. Good job. Powdered sugar, it just flies all over. 1 and 2. There we go. Like I said, I always go with the right amount of sugar, and then I mess with the milk. So I'm going to go to 3 out of 4 cups. Actually,
Tablespoons.
Tablespoons, not cups. Thank you, tablespoons. So I guess I'll start with 2. This is a 2 tablespoon measuring cup. So, you know what? Let's mess about the other way. Let's go with the whole 4 and see what happens. It says 2 to 4. Let's do it. There's your 4. Only because I had the right measuring cup, and it would seem to be fun to see what happens. And it could out perfectly fine just in these ingredients, and the consistency is great. So here we go. I'm gonna push that off the side. We got some off the side. I've decided I am going to order that same scraper blade that I got for Danielle for Christmas. Tim and I got for Danielle for Christmas, because I think it's kind of cool. All right, here we go. And there it goes. You can see it starting to work itself. A couple things I found out about this frosting is I personally think it makes too much frosting for even 2 loaves. Unless you want like a serious, ridiculous amount of frosting on both loaves of bread, this is too much. I found out that you really only need, for me, for my flavor, for myself, I don't like to load this kind of bread down with frosting, so maybe I'm not understanding that they really want it to be crazy, ridiculously loaded. I feel like you only need a half of this recipe. So I've written on my paper that I only actually make a half of this frosting recipe, not a whole one when I do it for myself. But for you, I'm giving you the exact recipe as it was given to me, and you can make your own choice. So it looks like, yep, too much milk. I should have gone with that 3, that instinct of my 3. So now I'm doing it backwards to what I normally do, because I'm going to add a little more sugar. That's too runny for me. See how runny that is? So, but look at that awesome cinnamon on there. Isn't that beautiful? Pretty. I think it's so pretty. I like making anything. So I'm going to play around a little here, and I'm going to go get a 1/4 cup. I'm going to start throwing a little in at a time, and I'm going to play with my consistency till I like it. So there's 1/4 cup right there. Oh yeah, much better already. See what I mean? Check it out. See, it's not so, see? And of course, it's not going to go on hot bread, so it's not going to, you're going to put this on completely 100% cold bread. You don't want to put it on hot and then have it melt, and then, you know, like when you do cinnamon buns, oh, isn't that fun to put frosting on cinnamon buns, but then it melts, and then so you've only seen it for like the first 10 seconds. I never think about putting my frosting on my cinnamon buns after they got cold, which you should do, even though the recipe doesn't say it. It says to put it on and warm. but it's always going to melt, and then you don't get that gooey fun stuff. So I think that's a good consistency that we have here, and it's done. So normally, I mean, you might want it to be thicker. You might not want it to run that much. Remember, we're not frosting a cake, so we don't want like this big thick thing going on. It might even be fun because I truly believe this is way too much frosting for 2 loaves, like I said before. And when I make it for myself, I always just make half this frosting, with it being 2 ounce cream cheese, 1 cup of powdered sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and at the most 2 tablespoons of milk. But you know what would be fun is if the bread's for yourself, you can do this because you've got the frosting at home. Frost your stuff on the top that you want after they're very cold. Frost your stuff on the top. And then as you're putting a piece of it, I mean, treating it like a dessert, like almost like a cake, and having it after dinner, cut your piece and then drizzle some across the whole piece. You know what I mean? And then present it to your guests like that. A little whipped cream on it, or if you really want to make it an elegant dessert, put some ice cream or something on it. So yeah, that's what we've got here. Pumpkin zucchini bread. It takes 60 to 70 minutes to bake in a 350 oven. When your toothpick comes out clean, you're good. Do not bring it out if that toothpick comes out wet or with any ingredients on it at all, because it'll be a weird texture inside of that and you won't like it. So there we go. This is our dessert bread, whatever you want to call it, for the day. Yes, Tim, we will be coming back. We're going to be making, well, I'm not going to tell you right now, but it is going to have that pasta in it that he showed you early. So, but I got to get this bread in the oven first, and then we'll come back later. Bye.